Hey y'all, this is Miss Conti back for part 2 of Live from Her Living Room Modeled Writing. So in my last video, we went through what a level 3 should look like based on our rubric and our success criteria. And now I am going to attempt to model an example of what you could do when writing your story. Now, the most important thing that we need to remember is we spent a lot of time developing our stories on a story pyramid, which you can see to the right of my screen. Now, I threw together a very rough story plan that I am obviously going to develop, because just because we wrote some ideas like this, some very simple ideas on our pyramid, it doesn't mean that we can't expand on them. And it doesn't mean that we can't change some of our ideas. But basically, your story should be what you put on your plan, okay? So what we're going to do is I am going to model starting off our story. Now, I already noticed that some of you were starting your stories with once upon a time or one sunny day at school. And I think we can do better than that. One thing that I find really effective, if we look back in our writer's notebooks at grabber leads that we did for our personal narratives, is that sometimes it's really good to start with a quote or speech or some sort of sentence that describes an event. And if we look here at the bottom at my inciting incident, Jennifer spilled juice on the floor, Sarah slipped and fell. So I might actually start, I'm thinking, with what could Sarah say or be thinking as she's lying on the floor after she slipped in her classroom at lunch? And so I'm going to put my quotation marks, and I might start off by saying, "What have I done to deserve this?" Question mark before the quotation marks, because we have a full sentence in the speech marks or the quotation marks, and so we always have to have punctuation, even if it's just a comma. So what have I done to deserve this? Sarah thought as she lay flat on her back in a puddle of orange juice. Now, doesn't that just give you a great visualization? Sarah, some girl lying on her back in a pile, like a puddle of orange juice in the middle of her classroom. And you're wondering, what happened? Right? That is the way we engage a reader. So what have I done to deserve this? Sarah thought as she lay flat on her back in a puddle of orange juice. All she could hear around her was the hysterical laughter of her classmates. Now, notice how I'm not necessarily following exactly the order that I wrote on my story pyramid, because the idea is that in our exposition and in our rising action, we are exposing and we are building up that story. And it doesn't matter what order it's in as long as it makes sense. So all she could hear around her was the hysterical laughter of her classmates. I'm going to say, so in my head, I'm thinking about this story, I'm picturing Sarah on the floor, the class laughing, and Jennifer standing there over top of her in the middle of everybody, giggling to herself as though she knew what had happened. So I'm going to try and write that and portray that in my story. So in the middle of it all, Sarah could see Jessica standing over her, comma, giggling to herself as she held her phone. In the middle of it all, Sarah could see Jessica standing over her, giggling to herself as she held her phone in front of her face, So I'm trying to think whether I should say taking a photo of her misery or as the flash So all she could hear around her was the hysterical laughter of her classmates. In the middle of it all, Sarah could see Jessica standing over her, giggling herself, as she held her phone in front of her face to take a picture of the scene. And now what I might do is I might take a little bit more time to develop. Sorry, I just realized I wrote Jessica and not Jennifer. So she could see Jennifer standing over her, giggling to herself as she held her phone in front of her face to take a picture of the scene. Now, in my head, Jennifer is one of those really popular kind of bullies. So I'm going to describe that in a way that is a little engaging for the reader. So Jennifer is one of those people. Jennifer is one of those people, because I'm adding a who in there. So I'm going to put a comma before who. Jennifer is one of those people who loves to be the center of attention. Period. She loves, and it's okay that we're repeating loves again, because it's not as though I'm saying, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. We're saying she's one of those people, I'm actually going to take this comma out, who loves to be the center of attention. She loves to pull pranks. Having some technical error difficulties here. She loves to pull pranks. She loves to pull pranks and record them, so, because that is a conjunction, we know we put a comma before a conjunction. She loves to pull pranks and record them, so she can spread them around the school. And now I'm going to think, Sarah knows this. And so what must Sarah be thinking? Sarah must be thinking, well, she's probably going to be a victim to this now. So she loves to pull pranks and record them so she can spread them around the school. Sarah would bet her, let's say her monthly allowance, because monthly allowance is a nice, probably a hefty amount of money, which means she's pretty confident that Jennifer would be sending this picture around the school. So what we're thinking about here is we are starting to differentiate the characters. We have identified Jennifer as the bully without saying that she is the bully. How do we know that she is the bully? Because she's one of the people who loves to be the center of attention, and she loves to pull pranks, and then she sends that around the school. And then we can infer that Sarah is maybe not so popular because she seems to be the one who is on the receiving end of Jennifer's prank. And we can infer again that Jennifer is the one who spilt the juice on the floor. We don't need to recount every single detail, and I want that to be something you guys remember. Okay? Readers don't need everything laid out for them. We use our descriptive language and our verbs to describe what is happening. The reader's imagination do the rest of the work. So I'm going to go to my next paragraph really quickly. We are almost kind of getting closer to the climax now. So I'm going to introduce Sarah's best friend, Emma, where we look back at it, you can see in the following action that not Jennifer, that's supposed to say Sarah's best friend. So let me just correct that. Sarah's best friend, Emma, ran over, grabbed her arm and pulled her up out of the puddle with one swift movement. And in there, we are picturing going in, grabbing her and pulling her up really quickly to get her out of the juice puddle. So I'm running out of time on my recording, but I really hope that this helped you a little bit to understand how to develop your character in the story. Thank you very much. Ta-ta for now.